Hi, welcome to the very first Hike Up Medals podcast about stories that inspire us. My name is Wim Schalken, and I'm the founder and owner of Hike Up Medals. And I'll be your host for today. If you don't know what Hike Up Medals is all about, I would definitely encourage you to check us out on hikeupmedals.com, on social media at Hike Up Medals. So what we do is we design medals specifically for hikers, backpackers, and mountaineers for trails or mountains from all over the world. So as you can probably imagine, through this hobby, we have been able to get in touch with the hiker community, which is amazing. But you hear some incredible stories. And we always had the idea we have to do something with these stories. But it's been sitting out there for a long time. And with that, actually, one of the incredible stories that we heard about recently is from our first guest. So I'd like to bring our first guest in, Erin Ton. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome. So
Thank
glad to
you.
have you on the show.
Nice to
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, nice to meet you now. Finally, see you in person at least, right?
Yes.
So we got in touch for the first time. I think it was October last year, right? After I found out what you had done, and we'll talk about that shortly. And I have to tell you, right? So even though we've heard many incredible stories, but when I heard your story, I was like, I have so many questions. I have to talk to you, right? So that was kind of the idea. Now we got to do a podcast, right? Maybe this is going to be the only episode. I hope not, but. And you were kind enough right away to volunteer as well. It's like, yeah, I'll be then glad to be your guest. So it took a little longer to get started, but I appreciate it. So no pressure, but good luck. So, Erin, so
Well,
let's start. Yeah.
I'm honored.
Okay. No,
There's
it's
lots
great to
of
have you.
stories to tell. And yeah, I appreciate you sending me some medals after my adventures. I think the first one I got from you was for my Colorado 14ers. And then I
Yes.
also got the rim to rim to rim to rim as well, which I did twice. And now the
I,
Manitou Incline. And I think it's so cool because a lot of times with FKTs, they're not organized races, so you don't get the medal. But it's an awesome way to look back on those memories.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's how it started for me as well, right? I hiked the John Muir Trail and there was nothing. No, that's great. I'm so glad. No, that's awesome. And it's funny, right? Because you have done the rim to rim to rim twice. So I have medals for the rim to rim and rim to rim to rim. So do I need to now have medal for the rim to rim to rim to rim to rim, right?
Yeah,
So
no, I was joking with you. I need two of those. And
yeah,
believe
exactly.
it or not, there are people who have actually done that like 4 or 5 times in a row. They'll be
Oh
out there
my,
like all week, just going back and forth across the Grand Canyon.
that's insane. So how long did it take you?
It
The rim
took
to
me a little over 25 hours,
Oh my.
and it was just shy of 100 miles with about 26,000 feet of climbing. You drop down about 5,000 feet when you're going down the south rim, and then you gain about 7,000 feet when you're going up the north rim.
Oh wow. So it's funny because I looked at that and I looked at the date and I think you did that about 1 week after we were there. I was there with my son for the first time hiking the Grand Canyon. We just went south to the river on the south side and then back up on Bright Angel. So definitely not what you did. But yeah,
That's
just missed each other
still
with a
a
week.
great day. Yeah, I heard a statistic saying that only 1% of people who visit the Grand Canyon actually venture below the rim, which I
I know.
think is kind of sad. And I think more people should go down there because it's
Yeah.
really so incredible seeing all the different layers. And yeah, I had done rim to rim to rim. Um, I had done it 3 times before I went and did it two
Yeah.
times. So I was
Yeah.
familiar with the route and kind of, the experience and how I would
Yeah.
feel. But I wasn't prepared for how I would feel doing it twice in a row.
Okay. Yeah, and honestly, that is almost nothing compared to what you did later that we'll talk about shortly, right? So, but let's talk a little bit more about you. So, you're from Colorado.
I
S-
am. Yep. I
y-
was born and raised on the Front Range in Colorado, which is kind of what we refer to as like the Denver Boulder area. And I really like wasn't that outdoorsy until later on in my life, and I went to college in upstate New York. And once I moved away, I realized all I had taken for granted growing up in
Yeah.
Colorado, the mountains just in my backyard. So it was really only once I moved back that I started just spending like every day in the mountains.
You're kidding me. So you really didn't, even growing up, you didn't really spend that time because now you're there every day, I think, right? In the mountains.
Yeah. I went on like casual day hikes with my family, and I've been skiing since I was 3, but it's been very on and off throughout the years.
Hmm.
I
Very
wouldn't say
cool.
I was truly passionate about the outdoors until I moved back after college.
Yeah, very cool. So you have several fastest known times behind your name. So we'll talk more about that shortly. So you are definitely an endurance athlete, but it's we talked a little bit about it yesterday, right? So it's definitely not a trail runner. It's more than that. You're really a mountain runner, right? Technical mountain runner. Is that what you prefer?
I do. I think there's a difference between mountain running and trail running. Trail running is more so on like cruisy single track trails, which I still do and still love, but mountain running is, where you're not necessarily on a trail all the time and it's rocky and it's more scrambly. You may have to put your hands down at times, and that's what I truly love.
Wow, that's incredible. So, and I have seen pictures of you summiting 14ers in Colorado in a dress and high heels. Is there a story behind that?
There is. Yes, that's another side project of mine. As you can see on the screen, that was me climbing Long's Peak in high heels. Um, and it started back in 2020 as more of a joke, to be completely honest. I had finished climbing all the 14ers for my first round and wanted to, celebrate and go all out, get dressed up, and naturally, if I'm gonna get dressed up, I'm gonna also wear high heels. And so I repeated Mount Elbert, which was my first 14er ever. It also happens to be the highest peak in
Wow.
Colorado. Um,
Yeah.
and I had a blast with it, and it just kind of became a tradition. And I have a younger sister who's climbed a handful of 14ers and high heels with me, and now I'm at 23, including some of the more technical ones like Longs, Pyramid, Capital, the Maroon Bells,
Wow.
and
So you're still doing that? You're still going up sometimes in high heels?
I am. It's mainly a summer project, as you might
Good idea.
imagine. I have done a couple. I did Mount Democrat and Belford when there was a little bit of snow on the ground, but they almost act as like one giant crampon.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. But how about your feet? I mean, that can be comfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, and I tell people it's not as bad as it seems. And I understand it sounds crazy, but when you think about the physics of it, they give you some leverage on the way up. It's similar to like the lifts in snowshoes or skis, and so I feel like I'm actually doing less work.
You may set a new trend though. Let's see.
I
Yeah.
know hiking heels are the way of the future.
I guess so. I guess so. So let's talk about what you did, right? What kind of triggered our attention. So you summited 57 of the 14ers in Colorado, and if you pause there, it's like, wow, that's very impressive, right? But then you did it in 14 days and 10 hours. And I had to double back, like, wait, what? Right? How technically is that even possible? So, and then it's unsupported as well, so no help. So, okay, talk me through that, right? So, how did you get the idea to do that?
um The 14ers are super special to me, having grown up here, and I would really say the 14ers are the origin of, my career as an endurance athlete. That's where I realized, like, oh, okay, I have some speed and some potential in this sport. So I really wanted to honor them in a big effort over the summer. And yeah, I spend a lot of time like car camping and just climbing mountains day in, day out. And so I had the lifestyle down, but I will admit I was naive, when it comes to the sleep deprivation. That was the biggest part that I wasn't prepared for.
Right. So let's talk through this, right? So for people who know Colorado, the 14s, there's actually 58, but these 57 are the ones that are on public lands that you can easily access to. So, so how do you logistically, right? Because you want to do this as fast as possible. So, and there's 57 to do. So how many? So you have to coordinate the summits themselves, right? And there's a few that you could probably do connected, right? I assume, and then find a trailhead, and then also do the driving in between. So, did it take long to even figure out the logistics where you would go and what the route would be?
It actually didn't take too long. When I was planning this all out, I looked at previous 14er records, particularly Andrew Hamilton. He's kind of the king of 14ers in Colorado. He has the supported 14er record in 9 days and change. And he's also, if he hasn't already passed, he's close to 1,014er summits. So he knows these mountains in and out. So I looked at his logistics when he did his supported effort, and mapped mine around his. And during the effort, it kind of got thrown off due to storms. Normally, like, you start in the San Juans and you finish with Long's Peak on the Front Range. That is what makes the most sense logistically. But instead of finishing on Longs, I had to finish on Capitol Peak in the Elk Range, just up above Aspen, which was also a very cool peak to finish on. It's like one of the most iconic 14ers in Colorado with the knife's edge. So I was still very happy about that.
So, mountains are beautiful during the day, right? But honestly, they can get a little frightening at night with the weather, just the darkness. And I assume when you're doing this fast, you had to hike at night sometimes, I assume, right?
I did a lot of most nights.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think
is that,
the
yeah, is that not
first
scary?
um I think because I was going into this project for the sake of a record, I was willing to like take more risks and push through, you know, times that I might not normally like place myself in.
Mhm.
Um, I have done a lot of, night hiking and backpacking in the dark in my past too. So I think that definitely helped.
And you said, I mean, weather is very unpredictable in the mountains. You said there was a storm that kind of, because 2 weeks is a long time. You can't even look at the forecast, right?
Yeah, especially like mid to late July in Colorado, the afternoon lightning storms are the biggest danger when you're at that altitude. You don't want to be at 14K with, lightning above you. And I've been there before and it's terrifying, and
Yeah.
all the hair stands on your head because of the static electricity. Um, but again, since I was pursuing a record, I was willing to take more risks than I normally would. There was one main storm, and it was the day that I did the Crestone groups. So Humboldt, Kit Carson, Challenger, Crestone Peak, and Crestone Needle. I combined all 5 of those peaks into one big loop, and went up the backside of Crestone Peak and Crestone Needle, which people don't normally do. But I had scouted that route beforehand, and it was bluebird skies for the majority of the day. I had just summited Crestone Peak, and the weatherman I was working with for the project, Chris Tomer, he texted me and he was like, Erin, look north at those clouds, be very cautious. And sure enough, I tried my best to make it as fast across the Crestone Traverse as I could, and I was only a few hundred feet below the summit of Crestone Needle when the clouds just moved in so fast, hail, lightning, rain. And so I took shelter in like this little rock cave for over an hour. And when I thought it was kind of dying down, I went up higher and more came in. So I had to wait it out for like another hour. At this point, my phone was dead. My Garmin InReach was almost dead. I didn't have any extra food, water, layers, no headlamp because I wasn't prepared to be out there um, that long during the night. And so it was very scary, and I learned some lessons about preparation that day. Normally, I like to move as light and fast as possible. Um, but yeah, this was out of my control, and had the storm not passed when it did, there was the potential that I could have been up there all night. But fortunately, it passed in time for me to get over the technical section of Crestone Needle. And there's like this little, like low fifth class wall that's pretty exposed. So I got over that, down the other side to Broken Hand Pass, and climbed or hiked the rest out in the dark.
That is unbelievable. So, do you get can you get lost easily there? How did that work?
Um, I've done the 14ers enough times and like via multiple routes and different seasons. So I have a pretty good grasp of where I'm going. I also downloaded all the maps to my watch in advance, just in case, anything happened. I knew where I was. And
Yeah.
I used the Coros Vertex watch. So it's great for that. It also has a really long battery life.
Oh, that's a good that's good to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then okay, you come down of the mountain and you go back to your car, right? But you gotta sleep at some point in time. How did you do that?
Yeah, that was another thing during this project. I went into it thinking that I could get less sleep than I actually needed. So the first 3 days, I climbed all of the San Juan 14ers and got an hour and a half sleep total. And then I quickly realized that wasn't very sustainable. So my goal throughout the project evolved more into just finishing and staying safe and healthy. Originally, I had planned on finishing in 12 to 13 days, but it ended up being a little over 14 in the end, which I'm totally content with. I
You
didn't
should
want to
be.
like place myself in danger, or more importantly, place other people in danger when I was driving. So if I
Yeah.
ever felt too sleepy, I'd pull over to the side of the road and take a 20-30 minute power nap.
Yeah, so there is this picture that we're looking at right now, right? It's where we see you on a trail on the ground and it looks like you're taking a nap. Can you describe what's going on here?
Yes, so that picture was taken at my finish, actually, and that's 3,000 feet below the summit of Capitol Peak. There's a rule when it comes to Colorado 14er records, and it's more of a tradition that for each peak or group of peaks, you have to start and end at 3,000 feet below the summit. So yeah, that my partner Chris Fisher took that picture of me. He met me 3,000 feet below the summit of Capitol, which you can see in the background. And yeah, at that point, I think the thing I was most looking forward to was a nap and a shower.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I can
if I'm not
imagine.
mistaken, I still had to hike 5 to 6 miles out to get to the trailhead.
Yeah. So I didn't know about that. So I was wondering, so when you hit your last summit, it doesn't mean you're done. You still have to go now 3,000 feet down, apparently, to be
That's
officially
correct.
finished. Then. That makes
Yeah.
sense, right? Yeah. Okay. I was wondering, where do you start? So that's really kind of the guide. That's the official start then.
Yeah, so for day one, I started in Chicago Basin in the San Juans, and people normally take a train to get back there. It's pretty remote. I didn't get a train ticket on time, so the day before, day zero, I guess you could call it, I had to hike like 15, 16 miles and set up camp 3,000 feet below the summit of Wyndham. And then I woke up really early the next morning at like 2 a.m., went and tagged all four peaks. And then I had to run down to catch the train before it left. I think that was at like 11 a.m. And so if I hadn't caught the train, then I would have, either had to wait another day or just start the project all over.
Yeah, unbelievable. So this is you did it unsupported, right? Can you tell what that means?
Sure. So FKT technically has three categories. There's supported, which is when you're allowed full crew to help prepare food for you, drive for you, hike with you. There's unsupported, which is when you carry everything from the start. And the only thing you're allowed to collect along the way is water. And they're self supported, which is what I did because I had like a car to help drive me in between the trailheads, but I had to, prepare all of my own food, and I did a bunch of meal preparation in advance. So I had that in a cooler in my car, and that lasted about the first week, and then it just turned into like getting in as many calories as possible, like the junk food gas station diet, and it was still not enough. I think I lost like over 10 pounds during this
Wow.
record, which I didn't have to lose. So by the end of this, I was just like skin and bones.
Oh,
So yeah, the self-supported definitely made this an entirely different animal. Having to
yeah.
drive myself in between the trailheads, whereas people who pursue supported records would normally take that time to like sleep while their crew
Mhm.
drives them.
Yeah, unbelievable. Wow. So, and just to put things in perspective, right? So that's a total is about 365 miles that you on foot, right? And I think the total elevation gain that you did is was almost 160,000. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
correct.
how long did you sleep when you were done?
Um, I think that afternoon I took a nap until around dinner time, and my family and my partner met me um, in Glenwood Springs, and then we all went out to dinner that night, and then I went straight back to bed.
Exactly. Yeah. So clearly, Erin, right? So you're physically very, very strong, but you also have to be mentally strong. And I saw a post from you a few weeks ago where you spent, I think, 6 hours in a gym on a Stairmaster. And I didn't know if I had to be impressed or call for help because I love running. I love long distance running. For the life of me, I can't even run 2 miles on a treadmill. So why 6 hours on a stair? And it's not. I saw the video. It's not like if I'm on a stairmaster, I'm just right really slow. You were sprinting up that thing. So what what were you doing?
Um, That was when we were having like a cold front in Colorado and temperatures were in the negatives. And, normally I try to run or exercise outside as much as possible, but that just seemed a little too dangerous for me. I was also recovering from foot surgery at the time. So I was trying to limit myself to more lower impact exercises, and the Stairmaster is a good one for that. But I didn't really have any intentions other than just, getting some vert and just challenging my mind mostly to see how long I could stay in that
Mhm.
environment. But I'm totally with you. Like treadmills, like indoor gyms, it's so challenging mentally, and
Yeah.
it just
So
it
what do you?
doesn't feel quite as authentic as being outside.
Oh yeah, yeah. So what do you do mentally? What do you listen to music? What do you focus on to kind of not lose your mind and want to get off that thing?
Um, that day I did listen to music, podcasts, watch a couple TV episodes. Yeah, sometimes, I like just to not listen to anything when I'm outside
Mhm.
and listen to the sounds of nature. Other times it is nice to listen to music and podcasts. It really just depends on my mood.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then a week later, we can find you in Manitou Springs. You're doing the Manitou Incline, and you set the fastest known record there, the fastest known time for it's female to do the incline. Was it 13 times, right? So the total was 11 hours, 11 minutes, and something like that, right? And 22 seconds. That was it.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, but the funny thing is, what you told me yesterday, that preparation on the Stairmaster wasn't even for that, right?
That's usually how I operate. If you get to know me, I'm very spontaneous, like last minute person, and I'm like, let's just go and see how you do. But
Yeah,
that was my first time on the Manitou Incline ever, actually, which, as a Colorado native, it's like one of the iconic
yeah.
endurance and hiking test pieces. Um, so yeah, I did an inclinathon, which is essentially 13 laps up and down the incline. And since it's just shy of a mile up, it equates to almost a marathon with a lot more climbing than your typical road marathon. It ended up being like between 25 and 26,000 feet of vert. And so
Unbelievable.
I had the second fastest time in history. I shaved a little over 4 hours off the women's time. And then a guy named Wade Gardner, he has the men's record at like 10 and a half hours.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing. So you started because I saw you were finishing in the dark for sure, right?
I
But
started a little after sunrise and finished just before sunset. So I was able to get by without using a headlamp.
oh,
The last lap coming down, it started getting a little dark, but I was still able to make out the steps.
yeah. So what's the hardest part? Is it the going up or the going down part?
Um, I would say going down. It
Yeah.
just takes a completely different toll on your body. Um, and going into this, I was like, I climb 13ers, I climb 14ers. I'm used to steep terrain, but stairs are just a totally different impact on your body. And my legs felt fine until about lap 8 going down. I think that's when it started to like really kick in my quads.
Yeah. So how long were you not able to climb stairs afterwards?
I was hobbling around for like 2 to 3 days after. I still went on a hike the day after
Of course you did.
just because I needed the fresh air, right?
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah. That's amazing. So the fastest known time, right? So how does that work? Do you then submit something or is it like Strava or your watch? What do you do?
Yeah, so I record all of my activities on my Koros watch, which then uploads to Strava. But if you go to fastestknowntime.com, it shows you all the instructions, and essentially you just need to upload your GPX file, which you can pull off of either your watch or Strava, and that's how you verify it.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, congratulations. So how many fastest known times do you have now total?
I believe that was number 37. So I have some that
I
are sub 1 hour and they're just like short red line sprints. And then I have others like the Grand Canyon, my 14ers, and I did an Everest on Mount Sanitas in Boulder, which was enough laps to hit the 29,000 vertical feet of gain, or like the height of Mount Everest from sea level. And that one was about 24 hours too. So yeah,
wow.
I like, the longer endurance efforts. I feel like those are where you get the most out of your mind. but I also like feeling strong and fast in the shorter efforts too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So at Hiker Medals, right? So we care a lot about hiker safety as well. So we actually partnered with Jester Wallace Production on a documentary, Safe and Found. It's about the search and rescue organization in Haywood County. It's a great documentary for people to watch. You know, if you want to learn about hiker safety, the simple things you can do to stay safe. You're out there a lot, right? And on your own, very remote. Is this a specific concern for you? Do you do anything special to stay safe?
Um, I would actually say I feel safer in the backcountry by myself than I do like in the city most of the time. But, I will add I've spent a lot of time in the backcountry. So I'm aware of, my abilities and my speed and what type of gear I'm going to need, which I think is one of those things that you have to learn over time. I don't carry like the 10 essentials as they call them, but I would say the most important, thing is just being aware of what you need and your speed and how long you're going to be out there.
Hmm. Yeah, really cool. Hey, so what's next for you? What are you training for now?
Yeah, so in about a week, actually, I travel down to Mexico to climb Pico de Orizaba, which is an 18,000-foot volcano, the highest uh, peak in Mexico, and that'll be the highest I've ever been before. I've climbed all the 14ers in the lower 48. So the highest I've been is Mount Whitney, which is like 14.5. So I'm going up about 4K higher than that. And I've never had any bad reactions to altitude before. But I'm curious how my body will react at that
Yeah.
altitude.
So that's higher than Everest Base Camp, right? I think Everest Base Camp is 60 or
Yeah,
70. Yeah, yeah, wow.
yeah.
So is that going to be then, sorry, maybe stupid question. How long is it going to take you to do that? You're going to go all the way to the summit?
Yeah, I'm hoping to summit it maybe like 3 times before I actually go for speed effort on it. The men's record on it is 4 hours up and down, and it's like 13 miles, a little over 7,000 feet of climbing from the northwest ridge. So David Hedges, who also has the record for Nolan's 14, he went up it in like 2 hours, 54 minutes, down in an hour and 7 minutes, which is pretty crazy when you think about running down 7,000 feet on the side of a volcano in just a little over an hour. So I'm hoping to bring the women's time as close to that as possible.
Wow,
But
unbelievable. Well, wish you
even if
good
it's
luck.
it will be incredible.
Yeah. Well, wish you good luck, and maybe I always would love to have you back so you can to share more of your stories. So it was really great to have you on here.
Yes, I love to chat more adventures with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it. So for thank you everybody for watching or listening to this very first podcast. We plan to have about new episodes coming out every month. So stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll see you in the next episode, or we'll see you on the trails. Thank you so much.